Welcome back. This is Ben Betts. Oh my God, I might have to restart this whole podcast. I'm welcome back. This is Ben the Menace. We're doing another episode. We're in a studio that we're leaving the studio. We have 1 foot out the door of the studio. There's nothing here. But the reason I'm holding this thing because this is all that's left in the whole studio. There used to be an arm. It used to actually look like I was putting some effort into this. It used to look like I wasn't doing this podcast during an apocalypse. That's what it looks like now. Like we've just given up. There's stains on the couches. There's no arms for the mics. There's no table. There used to be a coffee table here. I have 2 little lights pushed together to work like one light. There's a lady down the street who's vomiting in the toilet all the time. I think she's actually here, so in the building. If I said down the street, I meant down the hallway, but it doesn't matter. She's here. This is going to be a loopy podcast, and that's why I have my buddy Kelvin with me here today. He's filming. He's got a mic, and he's eating sunflower seeds into the fucking microphone. Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. You're good. Kelvin's a good dude. Kelvin's a videographer primarily, but he also is kind of an international fuckboy and real just like piece of shit. He said he's been injured in foreign countries and also fucked the nurses. Kelvin's entire goal in life is to live out just very simple porn scripts all the time. He wants to be, it's a kind of a cliched joke at this point that like most men think their lives are about to turn into porns. Somebody knocks on your hotel room and you think within 5 minutes you'll be having sex with them. That actually happens to Kelvin. That's his real life. He goes, is that a knock? Really, it really happens. Kelvin's as close as you can possibly get to Pete Davidson in the world. I mean, Pete Davidson. Yeah. Pete Davidson lives a porn life. And Kelvin's, I also know that I'm striking a chord and I'm headed in the right direction because Kelvin's starting to get nervous. He's not even on camera. I can see Kelvin shifting in his seat. I'm completely on the money because this guy is like getting weird and uncomfortable. And you can't even see him. No one knows if this guy even exists. And he's nervous because I'm right. Because I've been right about everything so far. So Kelvin, you want to say hi to everybody? This is Kelvin Latta. Yeah, hey, what's up? Videographer extraordinaire. If you want him to shoot a wedding and fuck your wife, I think that's he's the right guy for that. If you want a guy to shoot a wedding, maybe impregnate a bridesmaid, whatever you're into, he can offer you those services. But he's a good dude. He's here with me. I spent the last episode, I think the vast majority of the last episode, talking about Arizona, which, if you're not from America, or if you live in a different state in America other than Arizona, if you live on one of the coasts possibly, if you live in the Midwest or the South, you're like, why in God's name would people talk about Arizona? I'm talking about it because I was just there, and I think it's a fascinating state. It's a very interesting state. It's pretty much exactly like Florida, but with no Jews. That's pretty much what it is. It's a desert wasteland. It's actually for a desert. It's pretty beautiful. I agree. I like the cacti. I like the Grand Canyon, the rolling desert hills. I do like it. Now this time of year is probably the best time to go because if you're from the part of the world that I'm from, which is the Russian tundra. I can't survive 110 degrees. I can't do that. And it's like that the whole summer. So winter is good for me in Arizona. I enjoyed it. But Kelvin goes there all the time. And I'm guessing he's cupped a lot of rock hard fake breasts. If you're in Arizona, that's probably what you're dealing with. A lot of tattoos, a lot of fake breasts, a lot of heat, a lot of STDs, and a lot of people who mean very well, but just don't know what Jews are. They're just not seeing a lot of us, which is fine. It's confusing. They don't hate us. They just haven't seen a lot of us. So Kelvin, what's your experience been like in Arizona? Where do you go? What happens?
My cousin went to college there and moved there. I've been mainly to Phoenix downtown and Scottsdale area, Tempe.
Okay.
It can be fun,
But like, what do you do? What's fun? What happens that's fun?
I mean, there's the bar district in Scottsdale. And that's like that's what you're saying. Like,
A lot of fake boobs. A lot of like 45-year-old women who are out on the prowl.
yeah, there's a lot of crypto millionaire guys.
Crypto millionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all makes sense for Arizona.
No, in that specific part, like Scottsdale, that's like the
Crypto guys.
Yeah,
Okay. So there's a little bit of money there,
in that little pocket.
and you're getting trashed.
Yeah, you're getting. Well, me. No.
Well, Kelvin's been 4 hours late for a podcast because he was vomiting in his own Tesla. So it honestly sounds like this is perfect for you. In Scottsdale, is there a sign, welcome to Scottsdale, that's, like as you drive into the city that says, welcome to Scottsdale. Have you vomited in your Tesla yet? Does it say that?
No, it should.
Welcome all crypto bros and people who just threw up in their Teslas.
Yeah.
So, like, based on your experience, which seems like it's pretty significant, you've been there a lot.
Yeah.
What's like a major difference between LA and Arizona?
There's just like no, obviously, ocean or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of things to do in LA versus Phoenix or Arizona. I mean, there's things to do in both places. I mean, like nature-wise, sure, Arizona is fun. But like, you could be in Malibu, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, all these iconic places that are very well known and important in a way to the whole world. In a matter of minutes, if you live in LA, or chances are you've been there and know people there. Versus in Phoenix, it's like only a few people live in Phoenix. Like, meaning like, what's going on in Phoenix besides like what? You know what I mean? Just like there's like some.
So you're saying that anyone who's living in Phoenix is completely wasting their time.
No, I mean, depends.
Because there's no famous people.
No, not like that.
There's no beach. I agree with all of this so far. Yeah, I was like, hey, Kelvin, what's the major difference between LA and what's the major difference between California and Arizona, but really like Phoenix and LA? What's the major difference? And he goes, if you're living in Phoenix, you're just wasting your time. You're just, if Ben, here's what I think. If you're living in Phoenix instead of Los Angeles, you're just waiting to die. You're counting the days, waiting to die.
Just depends on what you want out of life, I guess.
Yeah, do you want to have a good life? Live in California. Do you want to save a lot of money on your taxes and then die? Live in Arizona. They have no estate tax in Arizona, which is why it's like Florida. The no estate tax states are just full of crazy people.
There you go.
I mean, that is something. Like O.J. Simpson lives in Florida. It's not a coincidence. People who have done successful murders live in Florida. And I bet Arizona is very similar. I've never seen so many people drive cars that are undrivable and not think it's a big deal than in Arizona. I'd be in a Safeway parking lot, and there's a guy who has like no back bumper, half of the front bumper hanging off, a garbage bag for a window, and he gets out of his car and he's like, what's up? He's having a normal day, and you just hear his car going shh, pulling into the lot. That seemed a little weird. I don't know if I've seen that anywhere, and I've been to a lot of places in America. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's cheap to live in Arizona? Okay, you're wondering, Ben, why do you have Kelvin on this podcast tonight? I don't understand. He's off camera. Normally you do it yourself. Why would you invite a guy like Kelvin to be on the podcast? I'm telling you right now why. Because he is an Arizona expert. I've invited an expert on the state of Arizona because I talked a lot about Arizona last podcast. I tend to form very strong opinions and make broad generalizations about places and people that are not 100% right. So I wanted someone here to validate whether or not my broad sweeping generalizations about Florida. Number one, everyone has fake boobs. Is that right? In the entire state, it's a law. It's a state by state. It's an Arizona state law that at the age of 18 you have to get fake boobs. Is that right?
State ordinance?
It's a state ordinance. Yeah, no estate tax and fake boobs under oath. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You see young women and you're like, what are you doing? And I enjoyed looking at them, but you're like, why? What do you do? Your parents signed off on this? Is this okay? I mean, if I was your dad, I wouldn't let you have a tattoo, much less gigantic fake breasts as a graduation present. Hey, do you want a used Honda or do you want 2 tits as a grad present?
One will.
Is that right though? There are a lot of fake breasts.
Yeah.
For a state, it's kind of stunning how many.
Depending on what area, but yeah.
Scottsdale for sure.
For sure.
Phoenix, I thought so. Tucson, maybe not quite so much. That's closer to Mexico. It's more regular people and Mexicans.
Yeah, it's very
Mexican.
Yeah, and then I was in Tucson once, and the street lights. There's not really too many street lights. It's really dark.
Oh, also, is it some sort of state ordinance that they don't pave any roads there?
Maybe it's
They
all dirt.
they don't pave. Because I was running a little bit. Like I went like if I'm in a new place, I kind of like to run around a little. I had like rocks and glass, and they don't clean the streets. They don't pave the roads. And if you don't have no estate tax, maybe you just don't have the money to do that.
Maybe, but we have it good in LA.
Oh, yeah. Well, California state taxes are enormous. We take care of and LA is kind of, honestly, I moved to LA and I thought it was a dump. Then I went to Phoenix and I was like, LA is nice. Because San Francisco is like pristine. It's like Singapore.
Okay.
And LA is not bad, but like there's, the Walk of Fame is pretty dirty.
Yeah.
You think that's going to be clean.
Yeah.
The Golden Gate Bridge is
Really.
clean.
Solid.
There's no homeless people on it,
Yeah, no, but Arizona's way cheaper. That's another
It's insanely cheap.
homes and stuff. That's part of the reason why my cousin decided to stay there. Remember? Off camera.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, you can buy a house for like $200,000, right? No problem.
Yeah, I think that. I don't even know how. I think that's
Like a nice house.
Yeah, it was just like a random house.
You can't buy anything for $200,000 here.
And I was like, dude, why don't you just move here?
And I'm looking at New York. You know what you can get for $200,000 in New York?
City.
Maybe like a locker,
Yeah, I was gonna say something.
like this big.
2000.
200,000.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can't get anything.
You can rent for a few years, maybe.
Yeah, you can rent. You can't own or pay a mortgage that's going to end in 200,000.
Go to some borough.
I mean, Arizona's for people who like the heat, who have no money.
For a little.
Well, people who want to save money. I mean, the honest truth is like, okay, I only have this much money. A lot of it's going to go to fake breasts.
Let me retire here, kind of.
Yeah, fake breasts cost $6,000. I have $190,000, and I want a house. Oh, and I'll have $4,000 left by the end of this. I'm gonna move to Arizona.
Want a quiet life? Really quiet.
It's pretty simple,
Yeah.
pretty quiet. You can get sustenance from cacti,
Yeah.
drink from the cactus. It's very simple.
Too simple for me.
Yeah, Kelvin needs fun. Kelvin needs to live the Pete Davidson lifestyle. Fast, hard, and like a porn. That's Kelvin's life. Is there anything else that comes up in Arizona? I'm trying to think if I have any like Arizona questions for you. Is your cousin who lives there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he like really proud of Arizona? Does he have like civic pride?
He told me that the only reason why he's there, I think he's coping with living there, but he said that
He doesn't like it,
He
really.
has more freedom there. That's the only reason why.
Financial freedom.
And if he moves back to LA, he'd have to move back in with his parents.
Oh, yeah. That means that's why he lives there.
Yeah,
Because he just doesn't have the money to move anywhere else.
I guess.
Which is like not the best reason to live somewhere.
I know.
But that's also why most people live anywhere.
Fortunately,
I live in LA because I don't have any, because I can't leave. I'm trapped
at least you're in LA.
until I start hitting. I mean, LA is great. LA, now that we're starting to discuss Arizona, if I was stuck in Arizona, ooh, man, that'd be a rough way to live. I'm not saying I want to stay in LA, but like much rather would be stuck in LA. Okay. Anything else that comes to mind, Arizona-wise? Do you have a good Arizona story, Arizona question?
So long.
This is our Arizona episode.
So super long drive. I mean,
Calvin, that was horrible. It is a long drive. I mean, it's about the same drive to get to Phoenix that it would be to go to San Francisco.
yeah, I'd much rather go to San Francisco.
Yeah. yeah. I mean, me too in some ways. The downside is I love my family, but you don't always want to see your family. And if I'm in San Francisco, I got to see my family. And if I'm in Arizona, dude, I don't have to tell anybody.
It's like no man's land.
Nobody knows if I'm there or not. It's the Wild West.
Yeah.
I already told this story in the last episode, but my attitude going to Arizona was like, no one gives a shit. No one cares. I was doing that the whole time. I was like, I don't have to do this.
It's anonymous.
Nobody cares. I was driving 110 miles an hour on the freeway, and I was just like, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares about this.
Like a good 100 miles.
And then I got pulled over, and I was like, oh,
No way.
they care. And then guess what happened? They gave me a warning. They don't care. And I got a warning for driving too fast. I was well over 100.
Oh my god.
Cause the cop
Yeah.
that pulled me over, I slowed down because I saw him.
Yeah, obviously.
But like if you're getting down to 90 miles an hour and you just see nothing but brake lights going by you,
They know.
you were going way faster.
Yeah, of course.
He gave me a warning for going 90. You know what the speed limit is in Arizona?
It's like 75.
75.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah.
It's great. It's a speed limit that Jews don't live in.
It's too fast.
Texas, Arizona, Montana. In those states, there's no Jews. Jews stay away from high speed limits and guns. They do. If you don't like driving fast and you don't like guns, then you want to live where the Jews are. That's what I recommend. L.A., New York. You know what the speed limit is in New York? You can't get over 7 miles an hour in New York City proper.
Oh, yeah.
It's gridlock traffic nonstop.
It's a nightmare.
It's the exact, and no one has a gun.
Yeah.
And in Tucson, and when I got pulled over, he asked me if I had a gun.
Yeah. Most people do, I guess.
And I said no, and I could tell in his face, I was like, he wanted me to have a gun.
Right.
He was disappointed. He wanted to have a shootout to the death.
He's like, this is boring.
Yeah, he's like, this guy doesn't even have what a pussy. This guy doesn't even have a gun.
Looks at your license plate. He's like, oh,
California, yeah. California pussy. That's probably what he thought. Yeah, I know why he thought California pussy. I reacted like, I was like, why? Why are you asking? I was like, am I going to go to jail?
He thought you thought he had something on you, maybe.
Well, I thought like, if a cop asks you if you have a gun, you're in trouble. And in Arizona, no, you just get a high five for having a gun. Everybody has a gun.
He's like, yeehaw, me too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he asked me where Muir Beach was. That's what my license plate says.
Oh.
My parents. Well, I still haven't updated that. And then he was like, "Oh, pussy." Yeah. So Calvin, you went to Europe.
Yeah, a while ago. Like a few excuse me. Yeah, I got back in October. January, right?
And sounds like you had a great time. I can tell by the tone of your voice you had an awesome time.
Changed my life.
Really?
Well, I mean, every time I go to Europe, it's
How many times have you been to Europe?
solo.
Yeah.
3 times.
You've been 3
3
times.
to 4 times. I can't remember.
Like this.
Yeah. Well, this is the longest I've been.
What made you, here's my question for you, because you're in your late 20s?
Yeah, starting late. Yeah.
You're 27?
Yeah,
26?
I just turned 28 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Happy birthday! Awesome. We gotta celebrate that by maybe arranging one of your porn scenarios. How about I drop you off somewhere and you deliver a pizza,
Yeah.
and there's a hole for your penis in it. How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah. That'll be my birthday celebration. I'll just leave you at a woman's house with a what do they call it? With a big sausage pizza.
Yeah. Just like, what?
Yeah, and then it'll work.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, her genitals and butt will just be covered in grease.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do that to celebrate. Okay, so you're only 28 years old. You just turned 28, and you've been to Europe on your own multiple times. What made you want to do that?
I was really bored when I was a 22-year-old after college, and it's a long backstory, but long story short, I switched colleges not by choice, and I was kind
Wait,
of
they were like traumatizing you at the Air Force Academy.
no, this is before that.
Oh, this is when you went to the Air Force Academy.
No, this is before all that.
All of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Where were you? You went from where to where?
I went to UC Riverside,
Right.
and I got transferred to another like private religious college university in like Santa Cruz.
Did you want to do that?
No.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just
You're bored.
no. My parents were very strict.
You were at a religious college. You're bored.
Yeah, I was like, screw this. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be back in my state school. And I was like thinking to myself like, I want to go and do something crazy in my mind, quote unquote, go travel solo.
I don't totally know what you mean, but keep going.
Somewhere
I think I'll get it eventually.
In my mind, I was thinking, oh, I want to go travel. Wouldn't it be crazy if I just like
Traveled on your own.
solo?
Wow. So no, you didn't like see somebody else do it and think, oh, that's a good idea. You thought of it completely on your own.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
At first, I thought I wanted to go to Moscow randomly.
That would be That'd be sliding towards stupid, I would say.
No, back then.
Back then, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 years ago, no big deal.
Yeah.
That would have been fine.
And then I just narrowed in on Berlin, Germany. 'Cause the flights were not the most expensive.
Berlin's fun.
Yeah. You been? Yeah.
No, it just seems fun. Berlin's like Portland, but in Europe, right? Everyone's just kind of a nutcase.
It's insane. Yeah. Nightlife.
A lot of mohawks.
Yeah. They're very. They're more. I guess they're turning more into like
Progressive.
progressive now. Yeah.
Like trans people.
There is a lot of like.
Did you,
in that way.
Calvin, be honest, did you have sex with a trans person?
No, I didn't.
It's not shameful.
I know.
In 2023, it's actually commendable.
I would tell you.
In 2023, they'll let you host the Golden Globes if you've had sex with a trans person.
Yeah, I know.
So get ready for the opportunities to start piling up if you say yes.
I know.
Did you have sex with a trans person?
Definitely not.
I don't believe you.
No, but there are a lot of like stuff like that out there. There's a lot of stuff like that
Okay.
that I saw, but I wasn't really there for that. I was only there in Berlin specifically for like six nights.
Okay.
I stayed at a hostel.
Kelvin, this is all fascinating. We can't spend too much time on it.
I know.
Well, you should check in about 5 minutes. Check the camera, roughly 5. Or if you want to check now, you can. But I do want to hear you while you're checking. I can talk a little bit.
Yeah.
I do want to hear your best, because we're already towards where we want to be for this episode.
Right.
I want to hear your very, very best Europe story,
Okay.
and we'll see where that goes.
What were like story about? 'Cause there's a bunch of
I mean, Kelvin, what did you do there other than just have sex with people? You landed. It sounds like you got in a moped accident.
Yeah. Oh,
And
you're talking about this trip?
yeah, from your most recent trip.
Okay.
And then you had sex that night. That's what I heard and I didn't hear it from a stranger. I heard it from you. So I think it's true, probably.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, this is so unhelpful. You really think people are going to tune into this and get upset?
Yeah, I know.
So, well, is there a story to that? Is there a better story than that?
One of the most eventful things was the accident just right away.
Okay, so tell us what happened.
Just quick summary. Arrived in Greece and then flew to Madrid. Went out, did whatever. Took a bus to Lisbon, Portugal in the morning. Got there people, made plans for the next day. I was gonna be sick. I was gonna go out with some people, specifically a girl at the time. And then I went out the same night. They didn't go out. I went out with some other people. And I came back afterwards, and then I was bored, and I said to myself, let me go out on a moped ride right now at 3 in the morning. I did. Went to this park 15, 20 minutes outside of the city.
So the reason you're in Europe is because you were bored, right? And the initial reason for Europe was boredom.
I see where you're going with this.
And now you're doing something else. It's like, well, first, I have a lot of things to say. First of all, I think in a lot of ways, going to Europe has been good for you, and that's because you're bored.
I need stimulation. But
That's true. And this is an example of boredom. Maybe you should just be okay with boredom sometimes.
yeah.
Maybe you don't need to do anything. And also, I'm going to say, like, the last thing I want to say is, you're bored at home. You're bored in Europe. You're just bored, man. It just seems like you're bored everywhere. But also, you're a thrill seeker, which is probably why you're going out on moped rides. You're having a lot of unprotected sex with syphilitic Europeans. I get it. Okay, so keep going.
Basically, and then I got, I was like, okay, I'm done. Let me go back to the hostel. Super late. Driving back down. First of all, everything's in kilometers per hour instead of miles per hour. So on this little dashboard thing. My GPS said that I had to make this weird turn up the road, and it was at a downhill. When I got to the turn, it was way sharper than what it seemed to be on the GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Super sharp at an angle like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a cliff on the other side of that. So I was like, okay, but I was coming in pretty hot. So I said to myself, am I really gonna like crazily try to turn and do like this lean into this curve and make it somehow and maybe flip and die? Or am I just gonna like, my other option is just to like ride it out and like just go over the cliff kind of just like see, it didn't seem that deep, like that tall. And just kind of ride it out. So I made a split second decision. I just headed right off the cliff. And then I just landed it, but it was really rocky and bumpy because it's not asphalt. And I immediately dropped it because I couldn't maintain it. And then I fell to the floor, crawled a little bit, got up, fell. And there was like a lot of warm liquid falling on my head.
Oh, blood everywhere.
Yeah, and then it was all, the moped was flashing. It was like in a ditch kind of.
And you're in shock.
I was in shock. I was yelling. I was like, ah. I was in pain. I thought I was going to be able to walk it off. But it stayed. And then eventually someone there's no cars or anything. It was late at night, middle of the park. It was sitting outside the city. Someone pulled up, came out, started speaking Portuguese. And I speak Spanish. So we were trying to communicate, but eventually somebody came and started checking up on me that looked like an official. And then an ambulance came. They're just speaking to me. Took me to the hospital, stitched me up, gave me 2-3 stitches, and then I sprained my ankle and had a lot of lacerations and stuff.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, but
But-
ruined my whole 2-3 weeks.
And then what happened that night?
I was in the hospital, and in the morning I got let go. I showed up to the hospital. The girl was texting me, "Hey, you ready for the beach today?" And I'm like,
From someone you met at the hostel?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because she thought we were gonna go on the moped. I told her we were gonna do all this.
Oh, got it.
And I was like, yeah, let's get some food first. And she's like, okay, should I bring my clothes with me? Are we going to the beach right after? Or are we coming back to the hostel for food? I'm like, we're definitely coming back to the hostel for food. Like, okay, and I pull up to the hostel in an Uber, and I'm limping with my stuff in a bag.
So you surprised her.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, when I saw her face, I still know her to this day kind of, but she still hung out with me the whole day. It's nice for her. That's pretty much it.
That's all you're gonna say about that?
We didn't do anything.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to wish that I hadn't asked Kelvin for his story. No, I'm just kidding.
That wasn't I had better stories.
No, but that's not bad, and we'll get to some other stories later. But that was if you wanted to go on a visual journey of Calvin's trip, if you wanted a day in the life of Calvin in Europe, from Milan to Minsk, Calvin. If you want to just close your eyes and think what it would be like to be Calvin, you just had an opportunity there for 5 minutes to think of renting a moped, crashing it, disappointing a woman, getting stitches, all that stuff, all the fun stuff that Calvin does in Europe. Yeah, we'll get to it. We might do one tomorrow too, so we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get that. Actually, could be a fun segment for a show like this. Calvin tells a Europe story, and we'll just see what we get from it because we have no idea what we're gonna get. That's perfect. We don't really have time for kissing on the lips either, which is fine, unless you want to get into that. But well, we're at 30. Maybe we do 2 seconds of kissing your kid on the lips. I want you to look up some. This will be another segment for this episode. Are we doing okay? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Can you look something up on the old computer over there? Yeah. I want to look up famous people who kiss their kids on the lips, and what percentage of Americans kiss their kids on the lips. Why do people kiss their kids on the lips? All these things, because I don't understand it. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, my girlfriend's probably going to watch this, and she's the best. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. And the only reason you ever say that into a microphone is because you're about to say something horrible about that person. That's why you say stuff like that. I love her. I love her family. They're great people. But she's 34 years old, and her dad kisses her on the lips. Well, I'm about to marry this woman, and I have one complaint. Her dad kisses her on the lips. Make sure that stays stable. I think we're fine, though. So, there's a lot of things you could say. I wasn't raised that way. Most people who... I'm not even going to get into that. I wasn't raised that way. And she was. And I'm just curious about what leads to that. What precedes kissing your kids on the lips? So can we look that up? Yeah. Why do people kiss their kids on the lips? Kelvin's sending text messages, which is fine. We're almost done with this episode, man. I want to see a list of famous people who kiss their kids on the lips. Okay. Why do people kiss their kids on the lips?
Well, this just says the list of famous people.
Okay. That's fine. We'll start with that.
The article just says Tom and Victoria aren't alone, though. Celebrity parents like Pink, 38, Kim Kardashian, 37, Kourtney Kardashian, Hillary Duff.
Tom Brady, Hillary Duff, and the Kardashians.
Yeah.
That's a group that has nothing in common. And Pink. Okay, that really tells us very little. One thing it does tell us is I've lost respect for all of those celebrities.
Oh, Tom Brady, David Beckham, Angelina Jolie.
David Beckham. Okay. It's a lot of people. Olivia Wilde does it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
She's the only one who I respect a little bit on that list. Kobe Bryant was great, but his fate is what happens to people who kiss their kid. No, it's not. Let's look up why. Why do people kiss their kids on the lips? Because that list doesn't tell me anything. That's all sorts of people. It doesn't seem like a religious thing. It doesn't seem like a racial thing. It doesn't seem like a class-based thing. I mean, those are all rich, famous people, but if they're doing it, and I'd imagine people who are lower income are doing it, it's got nothing to do with income. Okay. What causes kissing kids on the lips disease? Let's answer that.
It says parents find that kissing their child increases the bond between child and parent. Other parents kiss their kids on the lip to assure them they are loved and protected. It could be part of the parent's culture to show affection this way too.
It tells us nothing. There's all sorts of ways to display affection, and it's like, does your means of does the way that you want to show your kid that you care about them have to involve one of the sex bases? Right. Does it have to be first base for intercourse? Right. Hey, I love you. Let's do some foreplay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're doing foreplay to show your kid that you love them. Hey, you know what? I love you. I'm going to tweak your nipple. It seems unnecessary to me. Hey, you know a great way to tell your kid you love them? Say I love you, you psychopath. Why are you making out with your kids?
Maybe a hug.
Yeah. hug, squeeze their butt really hard, right? Just normal shit with your kids. Yeah. Hug, just like fondle. I think it's all just in love. It's all just a sign of affection, right?
I guess their love language.
Yeah. Try to slide the hands down to the butt. The kid grabs her hands and goes, "Wait, not yet, Dad.
Gotta hug me first.
Yeah, gotta kiss and hug me first before I let those hands slide down there." Just see it. It's like there's all sorts of there are a lot of ways to show your kid that you care about them and that you're affectionate that don't involve almost fucking your kid. Anybody thought about that?
No,
So many ways.
no, I did have friends like that growing up.
Yeah. You know how I'm going to show my kids, this is insane. You know how I'm going to show my kids that I care about them? Dick pics. Foreplay. It's just foreplay. Dad cares about you. Just penis. That's crazy. And obviously, I think it's pretty harmless, but it's weird. It's a little weird.
This is the way they were raised, right? Probably.
Yes, but why? Why? It's like, different cultures have different practices. This is not a cultural thing, I don't think. It's not socioeconomic. It's not racial. It's not cultural. What the fuck is this? It's not religious. Why? Why do people do it and not do it? And I've never brought it up. Like, I've tried to riff things out about it in, at comedy shows sometimes. I've never said that my girlfriend's dad kisses her on the lips and not had a whole audience go, "Oh." So there's something wrong with it. There has to be, if that's your gut reaction.
In the public's eyes, maybe.
Yeah, I think in the private's eyes too. In whose eyes is it not cool? I mean, who's saying this is cool?
Just the parent, right?
Just the consenting parent and child making out. It's not consenting, and you're not supposed to do anything. You're playing with fire.
Are there levels to it?
Like, you guys watched the Chris D'Elia documentary where he's, like, ooh, I'm trying to, like, one of the things he did was have sex with a 17-year-old in Connecticut, which is legal, or get a nude sent from and the age of consent is 17 in Connecticut. So he's playing with fire. When you kiss your kid on the lips, you're playing with fire. Yeah. What's more playing with fire than going like, "Ooh, I might fuck him"? No, I'm just kidding.
Is there is it a peck or do they make out?
It's a peck. No one's making out. It's always a peck. But what does a peck? What does a peck lead to? A makeout. And what does a makeout lead to? Nipple tweaking. And what does nipple tweaking lead to? Blowjobs, conolingus, 69. And what does that lead to? Fucking your kid. And I'm not saying that happens, but maybe we don't even have to start. Maybe we don't need to get to first base. I'm not saying that the parents are rounding first base, like, they're not doing that, but they're getting there. They're putting 2 feet down on first base. Maybe just stay at home. Stay home plate. Don't go anywhere. Hug. No one's ever been like, I got to first base with my girlfriend. I went on a date, and guess what? I got to first base. And they're like, "Oh, shit, you guys made out?" And they go, "No, I hugged her." No one's ever said that because that's not first base. Yeah. And it's fine to do that to your kids. Anything that's not first base. Had a great date last night. Ended in a hug. People are like, "That date's..." You know what you should do to your kids? You know what you should do to show affection to your kids? What you would do to a woman on a horrible date. That's what you should do for your kid. What do you do on a woman if you had a really bad date? What do you do with that woman? Maybe hug, maybe kiss on the cheek. Sounds great for a kid. For your kid, your genes. You had sex with your wife. She produced a child. I just burped. She produced a child that looks exactly like a mixture of you and her, and you love that kid, and what do? Hey, great date. kiss, never see them again. That's basically what you do what you would do to a woman you're never going to see again. That's how you show affection to your kids. Yeah. You go hug, kiss on the cheek. I'll text you. That's what you should do to your kids if you really want to show them affection. No, I'll totally text. Bye. No. For real, I'll text. That was fun. That was like fun. Yeah, never see them again. Man, that was fun. That's great. That was a good riff on that. Okay. Long story short, this is the third time I'm recording the outros for this episode, which is completely insane. How is it possible that I have to do this 3 times? This is not a high-tech operation we have here. It's a camera, it's a mic without an arm attached to it, and nothing worked. Nothing works. So, sometimes things go perfectly, sometimes they don't. They haven't gone very well with these outros. So I'm doing the outros for 2 episodes at once right now. That's my plan. Okay? Because if you watch this far, you don't care. You don't care if I'm doing a special outro for this episode. So suspend your disbelief. This is an outro for an episode and then the next episode. Thank you for watching whichever episode of Ben the Menace you've watched. Thank you. And you can follow me at Ben Herwitz Comedian on Instagram, Ben Herwitz Comedy on TikTok, Ben Herwitz on YouTube. Please, thank you, and may God have mercy on your soul. Thank you.